overall thoughts on special teams so far to this point?
Well, it's early. I feel pretty good about what I've seen so far with our kicking game. I'm pleased early on with the kickers and punters. Obviously, we got Nick Reinhardt back as a veteran long snapper, so I feel pretty good about that. I think we've got some added speed with the young guys that will help us in the cover game. So it's real early in this thing, but I've been pleased thus far.
Does Josh Pollock look like a guy who could do both?
He could, but right now it's too early to tell. But I would probably, in a perfect world, we would probably wish that he doesn't do both. You know what I mean? So right now, I think that we've got some good competition at that kicking spot.
When you're looking at holders, Matt Morin was taking first-team reps yesterday. Is he a guy that you want there because of his quarterback background?
Well, that's some of it. He's a big physical athlete that can run and can throw, so that's certainly a big deal, for us. And he's worked all summer on that. So, yeah, that's a certain added bonus, if you will. And we'll see how that plays out.
Has he ever done that before? Do you know?
As far as I know, no, until this summer. But we like him there.
And then when you're looking at the return game, is it the same typical guys that we've seen the last few years that are in play there?
Well, there's some guys, but we've obviously got some new guys that we're looking at there as well. J.J. Taylor's a guy that obviously is, I think, going to turn some heads. So there's some other guys just besides, the usual suspects. Obviously, when you add a new group, I think they say we got 38 new players in here. Anytime you add a new group and you got new speed, we're going to take a look at some different guys. But obviously, having some veteran guys that have experience, that's a beneficial piece of it as well.
How do you go about improving that return game in general? It's kind of been down the last couple of years.
It has. The kickoff return game has. Our punt return game has been pretty good, actually. But our kickoff return game is something we talked about it today. It's obviously we got to get guys in there that can execute the scheme. And we've got to pay attention more to the detail of it. And so it's just getting the right personnel in there, and then really focusing on the details of the things that we need to do to execute it. But it starts with personnel, and so once we get that right, what we think is going to be good, we'll be in good shape.
Would you say those details are the reason for the last couple of years, or more personnel?
Well, I think it's probably a combination of things. Okay. I think it's personnel, and then when you go through a year like we had last year, and injuries are part of the game, so you're not going to make any excuses. But when you go through injuries and guys that were typically going to be starters, go out, then the guys that are going to typically here play special teams get moved up. So then all of a sudden we're short on some guys, and so that hurt us a little bit, quite a bit actually.
And then with tight ends, with Trevor Wood back, does that help the depth there and possibly make them more of a factor in the offense this year?
I hope so. I think that those guys have had one heck of a summer. I think Trevor Wood is as big and as physical and as healthy as he's been since he's been here. Josh Kern has been consistent, fifth-year senior, who is physically in the best shape of his life. So, and obviously Matt Morin, I think that we've got some depth there, and hopefully we're going to be able to do some things with those guys.
Jamie's drawn a lot of hype coming in to this program too. What kind of stands out about him?
Well, he's got great hands. Right now he's probably catching the ball better than any of the tight ends. But he's a work in progress, young guy that we want to see get a little bigger, a little stronger. But man, he can run and he can catch that football. So those are some great assets for a tight end, obviously.